Excuse me. Hello, welcome in. Or not. So Vicky got some birthday cake flavored coffee creamer. So we're having a very festive cup of coffee this morning. So this morning we're cutting out some standard Turkish spindles. These are cherry, and they're 5/8 of an inch thick. So we're going to cut out a mortise in the middle. Basically, we're going to cut out a rectangle. Check for fit. And I want to make sure my holes are centered. So I'm just confirming. I'm just running a rat tail bastard file through. Hey Dion, how's it going? We reverted back to just using the cell phone for now. Don't need the headache. So yeah, we got a wholesale order for another couple dozen of these, so we're going to get these done today. So I went to the thrift store and I bought 3 more paper shredders to shred the cardboard for making the briquettes. So I'm taking my wood chips and my sawdust and I'm turning them into briquettes that I'm going to burn in the winter time. So at the thrift store you could get a a paper shredder for like between $5 and $8. So I'll just run 3 of them until they all overheat, then unplug them for a day and then come back to it. So for like under $20, it'll pay for itself. So we have more wood coming today. We're getting 2 more pieces of that the Dymalox, the resin impregnated, basically plywood, dyed plywood. So Vicky's sister is flying up from Florida this weekend. Somebody's getting married. I don't know if it's a shower or what, but she's going to be in town, so she's going to stop by on Sunday and check out the workshop. So the geese have left. So right by my house, we have a pond, and yeah, there's like 40 geese there now. And over the last couple weeks, it got down to about 20, and now they're gone. It's not to say they're not going to come back, but it's not the time of year to be migrating. So I assume they just went to other fields to eat more. Kicked up a bunch of little bunnies today, though. So yeah, Vicky didn't sleep well last night, so she's probably going to be cruising in here a little bit later than normal. Which is fine, I've got plenty to do. Oh yeah, today I need to design, I'm going to be putting an ad in the next issue of Spinoff Magazine, so I have to come up with the ad itself. So I'm going to be doing that probably around noon. So I'm taking out a 1/4-page ad, so we'll see how that goes. So I packaged something for Australia yesterday, and I had it in a 2-inch by 2-inch by 12-inch box, and I could only select priority for that size box. I ended up having to put it in a 4 by 4 by 12, so a huge box in order to ship it ground, whatever. It wouldn't be ground, it would be can't think of what the class was, but it wasn't priority. So it was like $20 cheaper to put it in a bigger box. Had the same issue with Canada too, so I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird. Like, okay. Now, I can understand, if it's something teeny tiny, because it could get lost in the system. But you're talking about, not a small package. So we dealt with that, and then when we got to the Canadian order, I just took the box that it was already packaged in and just put it in a larger box. So I'm sure Customs is going to love that. Just a little higher. Hey, how's it going? Welcome in, Gustav. The secret is not to throw things on the floor. Looks like a yarn spindle. That's because it is. It's a Turkish drop spindle. So that's what it's going to look like when it's done. So what's been happening? Not too much. You made them from a paintbrush handle and a plywood disc? I've made them out of potatoes and, chopsticks, so you can understand that. Well, I got my blood work back yesterday, and yeah, my A1C looks pretty good. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing on that front. This Wisconsin Sheep and Wool is 7 weeks away. So yeah, we're just kind of hitting production mode right now. Hey Jeff, welcome in. Vicky's still trying to get the California show situated. So we got our taxes set up for California. Now we need more information for the insurance. So it's going to be a bunch of back and forth. Hey Paul, welcome in. Some states are really easy as far as sales tax go. Some are not. I think my favorite is Mississippi. If you're not from Mississippi and you're only doing like one show, you just pay the tax. You cut a check to the people running the show for the tax amount, and they submit tax, so you don't have to do any of that. Yeah, places like Texas could be a pain in the ass because you need to file quarterly, even though you only do it once a year. We only did one show a year there, so you had to file quarterly, and if you forgot, they fine you. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. Let's see. Linda said your old one was a paintbrush handle cut off on the bottom of a creamer bottle. You taped glass beads around the outside edge and used a Band-Aid to hold on your whirl. Sounds like a perfect spindle to me. Perfectly waiting for cotton balls. There's something about improvised spinning. I made a wheel, basically a. Give me a second here. So I took a Dremel and I lashed it to a milk crate, hooked up a foot pedal to it, and then I clamped in a DPN. So I could turn it on and off with my foot. That was a cotton machine. There's something about drafting. It's just magic. I like to say, it's zen. It's just shut your brain off. All right. So these we're sticking with the 5/8 inch cherry. These are full size gliders. These will get laser engraving on them. Let me grab one. So these aren't sanded yet, but they're gonna get that image laser engraved on the top. "13 years of keeping your hands busy and making dishcloths? Awesome." I'm also celebrating my 13th year of making spindles and other fiber tools full time. Oh yeah, you definitely can make some pretty things from the scroll saw. Absolutely. Yeah, I really feel the scroll saw is a pretty underappreciated tool in the workshop. I think the biggest issue is it takes some practice. It's not a saw that you just hook up a guide and run a piece of wood through. It cuts, it's reciprocating rather than like a bandsaw. So it does have its own unique feel, but, being able to make internal cuts is pretty amazing. Alternatively, you could do what you did in woodworking class in the 2000s and make some super big screw ups. Well, you got that going for you. Hey, Wicked, how's it going? Yeah, I really can't complain. I got a nice comfy chair. Plus, I have coffee, so. Alright. You guys want to go into business making bespoke wooden game controllers, but the normal ones for the internals. You make custom cases. That's cool. Yeah, I used to make a lot of wooden toys and wooden signs. A little fretwork here and there. The important bits are all the internals, yeah. So you're disabled and you have autism and ADHD, and you need both a sitting job and repetitive but also satisfying, something that would be ideal. Yeah, I am neurodivergent. Yeah. Production work is not for everyone, but for me, it's a blessing. It's something, I'm going to shut my brain off. Yeah, and like I said, I got tunes. I'm listening to music. I watch a lot of TV in the background as well. So let's see. Melissa says you wanted to make a website and buy a spinning wheel and sell hand-spun dishcloths. I say go for it. Keep your eyes open. You might be able to find a decent spinning wheel online. Just educate yourself so you don't buy something that's missing half pieces. Depending on your space requirements, maybe a small electric wheel. You can make an Etsy store, for example. Absolutely. I've been selling on Etsy since 2008 with my past store. Now this one started in 2013. So yeah, I have an Etsy store, and then I also have a Shopify store. Just because Etsy, yeah, I was on. Yeah, I've seen a lot as far as Etsy goes. So, yeah. So this is my Etsy shop. So we got some 3D printed top whorls here, some sublimated ones, some laser engraved ones. I might be out of supported spindles right now. I've just been super busy with wholesale orders right now. Yep, size of portability is where you drop spin. Absolutely. I do most of my spinning on spindles, and I do most of my plying on the wheel. So I will spin my singles on the spindles and then ply them on the wheel. Yeah, you can just take a spindle, throw it in a bag, and away you go. It's just hard to do production quantities on a spindle is all. I mean, if you're Peruvian, then it's pretty easy. So you get benefits at the moment, but it's 12 grand to live, 12 grand a year where you live. And in the UK, a one-bedroom apartment goes for about $700 for real tight. Oh, I bet. Okay, yeah, so I'm using, this is a Pegas, P-E-G-A-S, 21-inch scroll saw. Yeah, so this is not an inexpensive saw. There's more expensive ones on the market. This one's about $1,000. But I'm also running a Buck Tool scroll saw, which is about in the $500 range, and I have a Bauer as well, which is from Harbor Freight, which is like a $280 scroll saw. This one I use for production. It's beefier, but just starting out, the ones I just mentioned are like great for beginners as well. I've been using the scroll saw since 1987. So if you're just starting out, this one is a little bit overkill. So you've been Navajo playing with a metal chopstick between your toes, holding your single? I've been there. I shoved a knitting needle through and put it through the holes on the Crocs. I assume that's why Crocs had holes in them. Yeah, I do a lot of chain playing myself. Yeah, my girlfriend is taking care of the Tour de Fleece this year. This is our first year having a group. But yeah, I've been so busy. I decided not to participate this year. It's good to know that the Bauer and Harbor Freight aren't total trash. They're not. They don't sell them under the same name as UK, but they sell the exact same machine from the same factory under a different name. Yeah, they're made by Chansen in China. They're everywhere. They've really upped the game. Yeah, I've got a big Bauer review. Actually, if you go on the Harbor Freight website, one of my review videos is on their website. Yeah, Chansen is doing a big thing. They were making a lot of tools for Viking, so Technitool, and like Rikon. They were making a ton of stuff for Rikon as well. So yeah, now they're making scroll saws for Rikon King, which is a big one. They used Seiko for a long time. Now they're using that Chansen. Yeah, Buck Tool, Bauer. There's a ton of names out there. They're a double parallel arm saw like this one. And yeah, I've been very impressed with them. The chucks look like, they have a lot of slop in them, and these things are going to wear out. But I've been running it for well over a year, and not an issue at all. Yeah, the price of scroll saws have just gone crazy in the last few years. I used to run DeWalt, and then I switched over to Delta. Those were both made in the same factory too. But yeah, I'd burn up those saws. I do a lot of cutting. So I would burn up those saws in a couple years. So I just decided to just get a nicer saw. I've had this one since 22. The only maintenance that I've done on this is just rebuilding the chuck here. Just keep everything blowed out. There's a lot of needle bearings in here. So I hit them with I just had a sale. Nice. I hit them with a little bit of dry lube. Like dry moly, so it doesn't attract the sawdust, because the sawdust is all over everything. You like to go to car shows where you make a lot of car related knickknacks, even with many just scroll saw. Oh yeah, definitely you could. Like the bottom chucks are just the bottom chuck is just constantly covered in sawdust. I mean, drops down there. So this is you can hook up a vacuum for extraction on the saw as well. That's what these holes are for. I personally I don't use it just because I don't want to have to listen to a vacuum running all the time. Um, I do have dust extractors in here, but for this stuff, I'm not too worried about it. And then as far as blowing stuff out, I just have a cheap little... Got a couple of these. For me, it's not worth having an air compressor hooked up. So I just got these little blowers. Those hand fans that popped up quite recently, it's generally pretty good. Much better than buying canned air. Canned air gets expensive. I mean, it has its place, if I'm blowing out like my keyboards, the canned air is a little bit, has more force to it, but yeah. Then you don't have to worry about huffing it, because, So yeah, so I got these. These were like just from Menards, which is just a kind of like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, and these were a whopping $20 with an 18-volt lithium battery. And then they also sell replacement batteries that are really cheap. So I got two different size blowers. I've got a drill also. Just it charges with just a barrel jack in the center there. They're garbage, but for their price, they're amazing. Oh, absolutely. That canned air, yeah, gets cold awfully quick. That little one, it's a blower. It's also a vacuum. They got a vacuum attachment on the other side. And I actually use that. I vacuum seal my bags of filament. And the little vacuum they have takes a long time. So I use that little drill-sized blower. And I just vacuum the bag and then seal it. And then just use the handheld one just to do the last little bit. Yeah, they sell a lot of cheap Chinese stuff. So everything they sell, you could probably find in the UK under a different name. Yeah, Menards is a very Midwest America thing. My town they brought in a Home Depot, and it only lasted a couple years. They just couldn't compete with Menards. is there any general products or shape you think makes good practice on the scroll saw? Um, I've got some practice sheets on my beginner scroll saw videos. Um, Honestly, if you just, you know, you could just take, the wood and just draw a bunch of squiggles on it or whatever. Um, as far as like little toys go, you could just get a bunch of different little animal shapes and cut those out. That way, you're not using a ton of wood, and you can give them to little ones. I mean, the hardest thing to cut on a scroll saw is a straight line. I do go into like a lot of beginner cutting. Um, Kind of goes over different ways of how to manage what you're cutting. I mean, it's like anything else. It's going to take some practice. So. There's a lot of scroll saw patterns out there you can get for free. Do a bunch of hunting around. I believe Steve Good's website is still up. He passed, but I believe his family still has the website up if you do a search for that. Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, a little practice, and then people assume you're using a CNC machine or a laser engraver. And I do have several lasers and a CNC machine. I'm not anti that kind of stuff. A lot of times you go to like Facebook groups and, if you're in a scroll saw group, CNC machines and lasers are evil. If you're in a laser group, they don't understand where all this hate's coming from, that kind of thing. Your ADHD says no. Well, I use most of the lasers for just marking. So I'll cut something out by hand, and then, I can laser engrave some details on it rather than, either decoupaging something or do some, pyrography on it. Oh yeah, it's all about speeds and feeds, yeah. But I look at it this way. I can, I'm reaching here. So these aren't sanded yet. But these are wraps per inch gauges. So you wrap your yarn in here, then you count how many wraps fit within that inch, and then it gives you a general idea of how thick your yarn is. So these are all cut out on the laser engraver. Doing something like this by hand, it would not look like this. So this needs to be sanded and then a finish put on it. But yeah, something like this, You throw it in the laser, you let that cut, and then you do other things. So I think of it more like an employee, you know. There's a whole buzz about laser cutting MDF recently because of the release of formaldehyde. Yes. Of course it does. It burns wood, yep. Yep, all my lasers are sealed, they're enclosed, and they're vented outside. So, yep, you don't want to breathe that stuff in. I don't use MDF much at all. You know, the same can be said for the ply. I cut a lot of Baltic Birch plywood, so it shouldn't have formaldehyde, but you know, it's coming out of the Baltic, so it's coming out of Russia, so mainly for cost reduction. Yeah, yep. I mean, it's sawdust and glue. I mean, it's got its place. It's cheap. You know, you could throw a laminate on it and make some ready pack furniture out of it. You know, it doesn't like water at all. So what's the secret to fast cutting, fast progression through the wood? Mine takes forever. I must push very hard. Sometimes I break the blade. All right, so I'm cutting cherry. And cherry's not the hardest wood in the world. But, you know, it's hard enough. So what I'm using here is a number 7 blade. This is an Olson Mach Speed blade. No, it's an Olson Precision Ground Tooth blade. So if we look at the blade here, it's not a small blade. It's not huge, but you can see how it's a double skip tooth. So it's got 2 teeth, then a space for 2 teeth, and then 2 teeth. So it's got 2 teeth and then a big gullet, and then 2 more teeth and a big gullet. So the gullets, the gaps in between there, give the sawdust a place to go. So this is a modified geometry blade as well. So it's got these cute little teeth on. And then on the bottom it's reverse. So that much of the bottom from the left, the teeth are facing up, the rest is facing down. So when it's cutting, I'm getting a smooth bottom. If it didn't have the reverse teeth, you would get tear out on the bottom. So yeah, so I'm cutting with a very aggressive blade. Hey Tim, how's it going? So you got to let the blade do the work. Now I do have some resistance right now, but you don't want to push too hard because you can flex the blade and then you won't be cutting straight. If you start flexing the blade to the side, you'll start cutting at an angle. But, you know, they tend to give you charts. If you go on their websites or even on the package, it'll give you a chart for, you know, what it should be good for. Now, I've been using this blade for about an hour. You know, depending on what you're cutting, you might have to replace your blade every 15, 20 minutes. If you're cutting something really, really dense. So we'll swap this blade out. So I do take my blades and I bend them, so if I find them on the floor, I know they're used. So I keep my blades in little test tubes. The caps would fall off, so I designed this. This is TPU, squishy. Gives me room to write what it is on it. And this saw has holders, so I can hold a dozen different blades on the saw itself. Hey Dee, welcome in. So these blades are about twice as expensive as Olson's other blades. But there's a lot of extra machining that goes into these. So these will cut straight because they ground the blades down. These blades are stamped out, and a lot of times because of them stamping out, one side will be sharper than the other side, so you have to cut at an angle to cut straight. Which isn't a big deal. It's something you compensate for when you're cutting. Would you say that without a chart, it would be good to buy a few different type blades and see what cuts best for the chosen material? Absolutely. To narrow it down? Absolutely. You know, a lot of companies will sell sample packs with a few of each size or different types. And that's definitely a way to go. I mean, sometimes you can get a hold of if you're buying them online, you can get a hold of the seller, and sometimes they'll throw a pack together with different stuff on. But yeah, so I find a style of blade that I like, and then I will buy it in different sizes. So as far as the Olson Saw Company goes, I like their precision ground tools, so their PGT blades and their Mach Speed blades. The rest of their blades, I don't like. There's nothing wrong with them, I just don't like them. I also will use Nikwa blades, which are sold in the U.S. under Flying Dutchman. I also have Pegasus blades that I like. I'm not really brand loyal. So this is the most aggressive blade I have. And then from there, you know, the Nikwa blades are the ones that I get. The Ultra Reverse are a little less aggressive, and then the Pegasus blades are even less aggressive, but depending on the thickness of the wood, you know. So if you look here, I got over here are my Mach Speed blades and the PGT blades. Over here, these are all the Nikwa blades. And then this is the majority of my other blades. So the ones I use are on the saw, and then these are the ones that are specialty. I got a lot of spirals in here, some older blades that came with stuff. My Pegasus blades are in here as well. So, yeah. You don't intend to, you know, collect scroll saw blades, but they tend to grow. I order a lot online, and I order them by the gross. So if you order 12 dozen, it's a lot of mixing and matching to get there. So, you know, I have blades in there that I might only use one of them in the next 10 years, but I'll be awfully glad I have them when I run into the situation where I need it. So, yep, so this new blade is just cutting like butter. So yeah, for these we're using blue painter's tape, so like blue masking tape. And so we put down the masking tape, then we use spray adhesive and glue the patterns to the wood. I'm a big fan of 3M Super 77 spray adhesive. Um, it just does a good job. I've used a lot of different ones, and I always go back to the Super 77. Oh yeah. So yeah, the Bauer saw itself, it's a solid saw. I mean, it's a double parallel arm saw. Um, I don't notice much of a difference between that saw and this saw, to be honest. Um, this saw had the Pegasus here. It's 3 times more expensive. So this has better bearings in, but yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Bauer. For the price, it's an amazing saw. I did come up with a lift for it. So that one, the Bauer has a pin in the back, so you pick up the top of the saw and it will click in, and then it's really hard to reach. So we made a lever that you can just press to raise and lower, to lower the upper arm. Like the 16-inch buck tool I have, the 16-inch saw isn't bad because you can actually reach it without bending over too far. So. So plastics are fine to cut in the scroll, so I figured there's plastics blades. Do they make blades for cutting sheet metal? I haven't thought of that before. They do make jeweler blades for cutting metal. I I don't think I have any here. But yeah, they make them. I mean, I've cut through quarter 20 bolts with on the scroll saw. Is it the best use of it? No, but it works. You turn the speed down, use some oil. But yeah, coin cutting is a big thing, where they'll make holders to put coins in, and then you can cut out designs inside the coin. Good morning. How you feeling? You brought butter? Awesome. That'll go really good with the bread and the eggs. Yeah. I mean, I've cut aluminum flashing on the scroll saw as well. All right, have a good day. All right, I think the next few we're just going to cut out the outsides. We're not going to cut out the mortises. I'm going to go get some coffee. I will be right back. All right, guys, I have coffee. We're all good. Yep, so these are when I get the boards, I make them big enough to fit a larger spindle on. And then when we make smaller spindles, we're able to stack them so we can get two vertically. Now, we needed the top spindles, the standards that we were cutting out earlier. We need those for an order. We don't need these right now. So I'm just going to cut the outsides out. I made like a dozen. And then the rest, I will just cut the outsides, have it ready. But I'm not going to cut out the insides until we need them. So this is just making it easier to store. So what I like to do is I'll take these small dowels and then I will glue a bottom piece on here. This is just a scrap from cutting out something else. And then I have holes drilled into my work tables. I got a 2x4 with a bunch of holes in. That way I can just stick them in the hole, stack things on there. and it keeps everything together. When you're working with something that's multiple pieces, inevitably, if you don't do something, you're going to start missing a piece. Things will start going missing. So I stack them like that, and then we can stack 10 or 12 up together. And then I can store it on a shelf. What blade am I using? I'm using a number 7 blade. This is Olson PGT blade, so precision ground tooth blade. It's a very aggressive blade. It's a double skip tooth. Number 7 is a pretty big blade, but we're doing very just large, sweeping cuts. Yeah, the PGT blades, they're a little bit on the expensive side, but they do a really good job. They're about twice as expensive as the Mach Speed blades, which are also very good blades. They're the 2 blades that I like by Olson. So I actually order these blades from Olson, from their website, and I order them by the gross, which makes them much cheaper than buying them at the store. So out of my gross, I have this many left. So when I get down to a dozen, I will order another gross. I mean, I got plenty of other blades that'll work too. It's just, these are my favorite. Look at the finish we're getting off that. I mean, these are all sanded and balanced, but the smoother you can get it to start with, the faster sanding goes. So we are now officially in production mode. We are getting ready for some shows that are coming up. I do have a little bit more. I think I got another probably 24 standards I need to cut out. They're not laid out yet, so Vicky will lay those out today, and then I'll cut them. So hopefully by the end of today, I will be done cutting out the wholesale orders we have, and then I can focus on stuff for the show. We're getting some Dymilux in the mail today, so I'm probably going to want to cut some of that down too. That's a resin impregnated birch. So this is the one piece I have here. So these are the bottom of, these are the shafts for supported spindles. So there'll be a whirl on here. We're doing a pink and black, I believe, and then is it a camouflage color? Let me look it up. Or did we order 3? What the heck? Oh, wow. We ordered 4 pieces. Okay, some of these are smaller. So, got a pink lady, so it's like a pink and a black, like a pink and a charcoal. Yeah. And then a big walnut panel. So it's got green and browns and everything in. Got a panel of that coming. So, yeah, we got some smaller pieces coming. So the Royal Jakarta. So got a couple pieces that are pretty subdued, and then that pink should the pink and black should just pop. So they make that wood per order. So the turnaround time is usually 6 to 8 weeks. So gotta make sure you give them enough time to make it. So they also make Spectraply, which isn't resin impregnated, but it is dyed and laminated birch. So it's the same wood without the resin. I've played with that quite a bit in the past. This stuff is way more expensive, but you cut it out, you sand it, and then you buff it. You don't have to do a finish on it. And it's super strong. It's like glass. You get a very nice finish out of it. So the material's way more expensive, so it's more of a higher end kind of stuff. So I said I wouldn't cut out the middles, and I cut out the middles. Ugh. Hey Rod, how's it going? Welcome in. Oop. So that piece split. I'm guessing that's probably the end piece. Sometimes the wood has a crack in it, you just can't see it until you start cutting on it. Yep, so when the wood breaks and splits like that, that's when I'm going to cut myself. When the wood decides that it doesn't want to be there anymore. I just got a message from the wood people. Just letting me know that my packages are out for delivery. So I usually cut myself with the saw once or twice a year, and it's usually when the wood splits or something bad happens. And a couple days ago, I did catch my thumb, so now I have to be careful for the next, the rest of the year, because I can only cut myself one more time, and then, I'm gonna make myself a liar. So, yeah. Not a big deal. Um, it really didn't even bleed very much. It's just the top layers of skin. So that's just super glue. So, and away we go. Yeah, it wasn't on the live stream. Yeah, I know. It's like watching car racing. You're watching it for the. I didn't even swear. I just boom. I went. Yeah. I wasn't live streaming. I could have sworn. And honestly, the super glue is just kind of to fill in the cracks, so I'm not catching it. I know, right? I'll try my best. And you would never have known because if I wouldn't have said something. No worries. I didn't file a claim with no workman's comp claim. Although I do pay into workman's compensation. So if I do injure myself, I can do workman's comp. So the deal is, so I pay in every year, and if you don't file, you get the majority of that money back. So basically, every year I get a check for that money, and I basically stick it right back into it. So. Oh yeah. Yep. All the fun of having a legitimate business. Hello, welcome in. Yeah, UPS really wants to let me know that my packages are coming today. Um, and it's like the insurance on the place too. It's nice to know that if something bad happens, I'm covered. You know, all the big equipment is covered. So. Yes, definitely. That's just it. You need some sort of protection and compensation. Exactly. I mean, hopefully I'll never need it. Yeah, bills do not pay themselves. Hey, Heritage. Welcome in. What's up? Nothing much. Just making spindles. We're just cutting. So today I have to work on rebranding. I'm doing different signage, and I have to make a quarter-page ad for the next issue of Spinoff. I believe it's due on Monday, so I gotta jump and do that. I haven't even opened up the email as far as what it needs to be. I know it last time I ran an ad, I think it needs to be CMKY because they're running on like offset presses. So gotta do that today. So I'll get that done. And yeah, we're just getting ready for the show. I'm pretty much out of dowels, so I won't be on the lathe. I've got a lot of little dowels, so I can make 4 1/4 inch shafts. But yeah, I'd like to do a little organization. Actually, the shop's not too bad, so I'll probably just keep straightening up. Vicky's sister's coming in from Florida, so we're gonna see her on Sunday. So we want to show her the shop. It doesn't have to be. It's not really too messy, but yeah, it could be organized a little bit. And we're in production mode, so we're getting ready for the shows now. So hopefully, I want to dump out probably about 30 spindles a day. We'll see. So what kind of fret saw is that? You never been able to cut with smooth, especially without to hold it down. Yeah, so this is a Pegas precision scroll saw. It's a 21 inch. Yeah. So this is the same, coming out of the same factory as like the Seiko, Seiko Pegas. There's a handful of names that go along with it. So yeah, this is kind of like a prosumer kind of saw. The saw itself is around 1,000 US. A lot of my other saws, like the Buck Tool, is like 500. The Bauer is under 3. It's like 280. Double parallel arm saws. So yeah, I learned on a 16-inch Craftsman that only took pinned end blades. So I've got the Buck Tool in the basement for when it gets super hot. And then, oh, I got boxes and stuff on top of them. So yeah, this is where I'm making the briquettes. So I'm taking all the cardboard I have laying around and the wood chips and sawdust and compressing them into blocks to burn this winter. So I've been shredding the cardboard, so I went kind of crazy, and I now have 4 shredders, which put me back approximately $20 at thrift stores. So yeah, so I got a Delta there. The bearings are kind of going on it. There's the Bauer. Love that saw. It's just I don't have room to have it set up right now. Then I have a little single parallel arm Craftsman down there. That's old Rusty. It works in a pinch. It's a lot. You can move it around. And then I still have to get the Shopmaster and get a new bench made for it. But yeah, we're kind of packed in here right now. Yeah, if I wasn't doing production work, like the Bauer would be plenty enough. But I just put so many hours on it that it's nice to have a backup saw. You never know. Or 2 or 3. So the Craftsman that I started out with, the hold down foot was a piece of plastic which is like spring loaded on the back of the saw, and then it had a big plastic piece that would come down over the front. And my father told me that it was too dangerous to take it off, so I used to take it off every day when he was at work and use the saw, and then I put it back. So I got away with it. The hold down foot just got in the way. All right, so we got a 6-inch jack for that. Yeah, that saw. Wish I still had it. So I can talk about it freely now. My father's been gone for a while. So sorry, Dad. Stupid kids. Let's cut out this mini here. Yeah, so with the sawdust and the wood chips that I make, I do make fire starters with some paraffin wax and just little Dixie cups. So sawdust wax in the cup, then you light the cup on fire, and it's a great fire starter. It burns for like 15 minutes. As far as these briquettes go, it's not going to be a profitable or the best use of my time. Honestly, I can get a face cord of wood delivered to the house for like $100. So if I would sell like 3 of these, I could buy that. But it's more about recycling and reusing all the waste that I'm making. Like all these little pieces of wood will go in the fireplace. So. It makes good kindling. So I'm still experimenting with the ratio. Everywhere I read, like old newspapers are supposed to be the best as far as a binder goes, but yeah, there's not a lot of newspapers going on these days where I am. Our free paper's gone. We do have a newspaper, but it tends to be like 6 pages thick, so I'm not gonna pay for that. What I should do is I should put something on Facebook, see if anybody has any old newspapers laying around they want to get rid of. Cardboard works okay, but it's not great. So if you guys are new to the stream, welcome in. My name's Scott. I make stuff. We are currently working on making some Turkish drop spindles. The stream, we got about, 15-20 minutes left of the stream. I try to do about 2 hours a couple times a week. So we're just kind of hanging out. If you guys have any questions or anything you want to talk about, let us know. I wouldn't mind getting what's on the printers. We are making some glow in the dark blue destinies right now, and most of the printers are down right now. I should be some more nitty natties. I'll get some nitty natties going on them, and the older ones I'll get some cheap going when I start working on that ad. Get one of the laser engravers going too. I'm not going to get the CNC machine started because if I'm designing stuff, I don't want to have to listen to that. Yeah, it's gotten much better. The prints look a lot better now. I'm actually doing a full bed right now. We'll go take a peek at that. So I've been doing one spindle at a time for the last few days. I probably should order another plate for the A1. Ooh, I almost dropped you. Well, I did drop you, but I caught you. So yeah, these are not looking bad. I am using some hairspray for adhesion, and yeah, they've been looking good. So take a peek here. I'll probably be done with this roll hopefully tomorrow. What was the issue? Mainly it was the temperature. Plus I've been constantly drying this. So as far as the stringing goes, yeah, there's some moisture in the filament and then the temperature. So brought it down a little bit, and yeah, it's been good. So we'll see what happens with the next roll. I will be right back. Sorry about that. The coffee's actually kicking in now. So. Yeah, I don't know what I did, but I finally got the temperatures to work right. Yeah, Bamboo Labs software. It's nice, but yeah, it's just trying to change temperatures is just a pain in the ass. I guess I'm used to Cura. And the only reason I'm used to Cura is because I started out with Ultimaker printers. So that was their default. And then when I started adding printers, I already used that software, so just kept going. So yeah, one of my X1 carbons, I was having some issues with that yesterday. Um, there was a clog in it, and the AMS was having issues. So I had to take the AMS apart and inspect everything, and I ended up replacing one of the PFTE tubes on the inside. Um, Once you start getting some mileage on the EMSs, it tends to wear out the Teflon tubes on the inside. If you look at them, they look like they have lines drawn in them. Well, it's just rubbing in the same spot over and over again. So I'll go in there and I'll turn them, try to get a little bit more use out of them. In the states that the AMS is basically, it's where you have your multiple rolls of filament and it can switch colors. I don't do multicolor prints very often. So what I'll use the AMS for is just kind of to store, 4 different rolls of filament that I use, and then when I start up the print, I can select which I want. And I also use it quite a bit where you could put in 2 rolls of the same color filament, and when one roll runs out, it will switch to the next roll. Now, if I was doing multicolor prints, I'd probably have to replace all the tubes on the inside, and it just couldn't, If you expect it to switch colors a couple hundred times, that increases the odds of something getting messed up. So they're entering kind of the end of their life cycle right now. I'd like to get a couple more years out of them. I might end up just pulling the AMSs and just running a roll of filament out the back. But as of right now, they're working. But eventually they will be replaced. And I only got 2 of those, so it's not a huge thing. So I like to stick to around 12 different colors. So with the 2 printers of the 2 AMSs, I have 8 there, so I still have to switch them out. You can daisy chain them together, so you could, get all 12 colors on one printer if you needed to, but... Plus, it's not nearly as humid or as hot in here as it was last week. I think it's about 74 degrees in here, not 85, 87. So it's much more comfortable in the shop. I'm wearing a shirt. When it gets super hot, you kind of go into blizzard weather, like submarine mode. Farmer mode. not wearing a ton of clothes. And I'm sorry, delivery drivers, but I'm not going to put a shirt on for you. I'm just a fat guy working. Although I am down 7 pounds since my last doctor appointment. So exercising and eating human-sized portions aren't a bad thing. I actually jogged quite a bit today. Normally I walk, but did a little jogging. So I started out just whenever I would cross the streets, I'd jog across the streets. And then I would jog across the streets and then, keep jogging for about a half a block and then walking. So I'm just starting to be able to jog, without dying. I'm really careful because if I pull something, I'm going to have to limp the rest of the way to work. I'm certainly not getting any younger. So, that with my A1C, I am no longer pre-diabetic. I am diabetic by 1/10 of a point. So, I'm just right on the cusp. Just mind my P's and Q's for the next 3 months and see how that's working. Oh yeah, still taking the meds. I feel like I'm not progressing. I'm just kind of sticking where I am, which it's not horrible, but I don't know. If things were getting worse, they'd probably switch. I'm maxed out on the meds I'm taking now. So, I'm right on the cusp of going and getting a GLP-1. At least I'd lose more weight that way. And I did check. My insurance would cover it. It would be $100 per month. But if it would help, I'm way better at sustaining than I am at losing. Just open the door. That's the best part about the shop. It came with a door ringer thing. That way you don't have to put an acoustic guitar above the door. to get a strum every time you walk in. So, no geese this morning, no ducks in the pond. I saw about 8 to 10 rabbits. There's like a new batch of juvenile bunnies bouncing around. If I had a net, we could be eating Hassenpfeffer right now. Starlings. Whole bunch of starlings. There must be some pretty delicious bugs in some of these yards, because there's like hundreds of them. You wonder where they've gone? They probably just went to fields. You know, the baby geese are adult looking now. You know, I'm sure they're sitting in a field somewhere. They'll probably come back and forth.
Sunday.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Is she gonna come down here or?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I think I'm gonna end the live stream and then I gotta start working on that ad. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm out of here. I gotta go work on that ad, obviously. So I'll probably be streaming again, probably on Monday, maybe Tuesday. So, or maybe on the weekend. We'll see what happens. So, all right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you next time. Remember, just be nice to people. Have a good